Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for April 23rd, 2025. Thank you for joining me. I'll be with you until 7 p.m. tonight. It's always hard we have two Skraby shows I should start with this week. We have tonight and then we have tomorrow as well. Oh, actually, we do not have tomorrow. We have the NFL draft. Wow, I just realized something on the air. But anyway, we will be on the air tomorrow night during Skraby Show time. Chris, myself, and Braden are going to be doing the first round of the NFL draft, which should be pretty fun. I think we've done it like 3 years in a row now, maybe even 4 years in a row. And for some reason, the Padres always have an off day on that same day, so it works out. But I enjoy the draft show. I'm a big fan of the NFL draft, and I'm a big fan of the first round of the NFL draft. Yeah, there are some good players taken later in the draft. I would say the first through the third round are the ones that I pay attention to the most, because obviously the first round you have everybody that you know who's going to be taken, and then you get some of the guys that fell. I like that drama. Who's going to be the guy who was supposed to be drafted earlier in the draft, but just stays there and watches as they show him from the green room. And I like that part of it. I like seeing where those guys go, because part of me wants them to play really well once they get drafted somewhere, because everybody kind of threw them away in the draft. But we will have full first round coverage tomorrow night with live audio from the podium, I believe. We also have some draft capsules, what they call them. So they go through, and it's a basically 60 seconds about the player that just selected. So if you haven't heard the draft show, we are going to be doing it tomorrow from 5 until about 9 p.m. Whenever the final round of the draft is over is when our show is over. But we also have the round table, 10 a.m. And Chris gave me a little bit of a look into what he wants to talk about tomorrow. And I got to tell you, people out there, Chris is taking this very seriously, as I told you he would last week. But some of the stuff he has planned for us to talk about tomorrow is good stuff. And I'm curious to see what Tony's going to say about some of these things. Curious to see what the guys think about some of these things. But Ben Higgins is out, so Chris is in, and he is going to be hosting the Roundtable, sponsored by Roundtable Pizza, starting at 10 a.m. And then our show is from 2 to 4. And then we have the roundtable from 4 to 5, and then draft from 5 to 9. So there you go. You're caught up on all of the latest in 97.3 The Fan programming. Now, I just got done with the Gwen and Chris show, 4 hours talking about the Padres and talking about their game today. And it's the 25th game of the year. I'm not, the sky is not falling for me. Obviously, I do know that they can't play like this forever. I don't think they're going to play like this forever. And if you're a Skraby Show, if you're a Skrabinator, you know that we're honest here on the Skraby Show. And honestly, this is probably the type of baseball we're going to get until some of these guys return from injury, because not many teams are going to win with this sort of lineup. Mason McCoy is a great defender, but he hasn't been able to figure out how to hit at the big league level. So that's tough. When you're having Mason McCoy coming up last night 3 or 4 times. Connor Joe has had a really rough go of it, and I'm hoping that they don't give up on Connor Joe. I don't really feel like he's had the best circumstances to try to show himself and prove that he could play. We know what Connor Joe is capable of, and the situations that he's been in haven't been great. But I don't even think he has a hit on the year. He does not have a hit on the year yet, so I'm sure that's weighing on him. Tirso Ornelas 0 for 3. Now, is he a big leaguer? I don't know. Probably. I mean, he seems to look the part. He seems like he'll calm down a little bit, get comfortable at the big league level, and figure it out. Oscar Gonzalez, I think he's a big leaguer. He's hitting 286. He went 0 for 2 today, but he walked. Jose Iglesias 2 for 3. Now, Tyler Wade, I would say, has done a little bit better than we all thought he would do, but it doesn't replace what Jackson Merrill is going to do when he's playing center field. It doesn't replace the production that is brought to the team by Jackson Merrill. And if you don't remember, Jackson Merrill had a really hot start to the season, and the Padres are missing that big time right now. They're missing Jackson Merrill. They're missing Jake Cronenworth. These are the big league players that we all thought were going to be healthy for the year. And obviously injuries do happen, but you cannot replace the amount of production that they've lost due to the IL. And before Jackson Merrill got hurt, he was hitting 378, OPS 1.091, and he had 3 homers, 10 RBIs in 37 at-bats. So very small amount of at-bats, but that production right there, you're not going to get that. No offense, Tyler Wade, but you're not going to get that kind of production at the plate from Tyler Wade. He's not going to give you 3 home runs, I don't think, the entire season. But he is what the Padres have. And so when people tell me this team stinks, this team needs to DFA Bogarts, they need to do this, they need to do that. They're not going to do any of that because they're going to have to play with what they got, and that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, Jake Cronenworth comes back. He's playing second base. There's no need for Mason McCoy. So it's not going to be easy here the next couple weeks, or at least till some of these guys are coming back. It's not going to be easy. They got shut out for the first time today. I also think they just ran up against a good pitcher, and I said this earlier. I hate it when I have to say that they ran up against a good pitcher because it seems like you could say that almost every time the Padres lose, but I know that's just me being hyper-focused on the local team. I don't share the same criticism of this team as some people do out there. And I know that I have to take fandom in different levels. Like I have my fans that I pay attention to for not crazy, but I'll just say crazy for lack of a better term, but crazy takes. And then you got the people that are not worried at all. And then you got the people in the middle who are just kind of waiting it out and seeing what happens and understand that this team is playing with some sort of a almost AAA roster. The Xander Bogaerts stuff, though, I understand why there is frustration with Xander Bogaerts. I understand why people feel like Xander Bogaerts is not contributing to this team. But they are not going to go in a different direction. And B, you are not going to find a team that's going to take Bogaerts with the contract that he has. So the way I look at it is this is just the reality. He's going to be with the team. So if you want to keep in your mind cursing Xander Bogaerts and say DFA Xander Bogaerts, you go ahead and do that. But it's kind of, to me, a wasted thought, because it's just not going to happen. They're not going to send him to AAA. They're not going to call up Leo DeVries. I don't know what other direction they can go in, but Xander Bogaerts is firmly entrenched on this team as the starting Padres shortstop. That's just what it is. And so we have to take it and just move forward. It's the only advice I have for everyone is that, yeah, Xander Bogaerts is not great. He can be. We've seen him be better, but he's not living up to the money. And I know that everybody always points out the contract. And I think that is something that, yes, you can say is a problem because they have a contract with Xander Bogaerts for a very, very, very long time. And he has not performed up to $25 million a year so far. But I don't think that he's going to perform up to $25 million at any point during this contract. And I will come back to the thing I say to people who argue with me about Xander Bogaerts and the contract is, if someone offered you $250 million, wouldn't you take it for 10 years, I think? Wouldn't you take it? Yeah, you would. So I blame the Padres for this. I blame the front office for this. Now, we don't know exactly what went into it. Like, was Peter Seidler a driving force before he passed in getting Xander Bogaerts on this team? I think there's a good chance that he was. We don't know that for sure or anything like that, but I blame the front office for this. I blame the front office for signing Xander Bogaerts to a contract he can't live up to. And it was at the time we were all kind of scratching our head. We're still kind of scratching our head. But here's the one thing about Xander Bogaerts that I really like and enjoy and appreciate about him is that he's someone he's not afraid to change things. He's not afraid to try something new at the plate. And he comes to the baseball field every single day giving his best effort. And I know that people are laughing in their car right now. Oh, Skraby saying this guy gives his best effort. But it's true. I mean, what more can you ask for with a guy on the team? Just do your best. And it's the Padres front office fault for putting them into this contract. But Xander Bogaerts has to, at some point, be some sort of steadying force while these guys are gone and on the injured list. His 259, 700 OPS so far this year, 259 average, it's not going to work. Manny Machado cannot be the only guy in this lineup who is going to, or Tatis as well, obviously. But Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. aren't going to win games, just the two of them. They need more from everyone, and you need more from Xander. I think it's fair to expect more from Xander Bogaerts. I do, because he is that type of player. He's when he first was traded to the Padres, we had Boston people on talking about Xander Bogaerts because obviously we hadn't seen him play every day for years and years and years. But they all said one thing is that he's a professional baseball player, and he will always conduct himself professionally. And that's what I have seen from him. But backing up to everything, he's going to have to raise his level of play at some point during the year when they need him. That's just a fact. They're not going to win a bunch of games with Xander Bogaerts going 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Now, he does have, his 700 OPS is not good. And that's kind of crazy that he has a 700 OPS because he has, I believe, 8 doubles on the year or 6. Let's see. He has 8 doubles on the year, which is really strange, meaning that he's not hitting anything else for power. He hasn't hit a home run yet this year, and he hasn't really caught fire as of late, or since he started his contract. His first year with the Padres wasn't too bad. I just think he needs to do more, especially when this team has so many people, so many players on the IL. Here's the list of IL players, just to give everybody a little look into what the Padres are dealing with. Here are the players that are on the IL right now: Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Brian Hoeing, Sean Reynolds, Johnny Brito, Matt Waldron, Jackson Merrill, Jake Cronenworth, Brandon Lockridge, Jason Hayward, Luis Ariz. We talk about the last 5 there: Jackson Merrill, Jake Cronenworth, Brandon Lockridge, Jason Hayward, Luis Ariz. Those are 5 big league players from the big league team that the Padres do not have right now producing anything at all because they are on the IL. So that's why they lost 6-0 today. I don't think it's really anything other than they went up against a guy who was throwing an amazing changeup in Reese Olson, and they are with a bunch of AAA hitters. That's why they lost today, and that's why I'm not ready to give up on the season. But we do need to start getting some of these guys back soon. Jackson Merrill on this prognosis from Kevin Acee says target is late April, early May. Jake Cronenworth, mid-May for his rib fracture. Brandon Lockridge, late April, early May. Jason Hayward, unknown. Luis Ariz is expected back after his concussion protocol IL, 7-day IL is up. So you're going to get Luis Ariz back soon. But we still don't know about Jake Cronenworth or Jackson Merrill. And this whole Jackson Merrill hamstring thing, I talked about it last week. It just seems like I'm not feeling better about it. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because he could end up playing here in this series against the Rays at home. But I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I really need to see a little bit more from... I need to hear a little bit more about the injuries. I feel like I bought into what they were saying and I shouldn't have, which is something that I do all the time in all walks of life. But I maybe, he tweaked it, might not even go on the IL. Okay, he's going on the IL. He'll be back in Houston. All right, he's not going to be back in Houston. Now is he going to be back for the Rays? I don't know. Maybe. But we need him back. Padres need him back as well. I am Matt Skraby. You're listening to the Skraby Show here on 97.3 The Fan. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just being a realist. I really am. I am being a realist. So everybody out there is punching the radio like this dude doesn't get it. This team's terrible. This is the reality of things. If you want to watch, you can on YouTube. Just search 97.3 The Fan on YouTube, or the super secret Skrabinator chat is at, or go to youtube.com/@ The Skraby Show, and you will find that as well. I'm on Twitter at Matt Skraby, Instagram at Matt Skraby, and we have a couple more segments to go. We're still going to be talking. You know what we're going to do in this next segment? We're going to do a little Padres therapy. And we did this last year, and it seemed to work because the Padres kind of turned it around a little bit. So we're going to do Padres therapy when we get back. At the end of the show, I am going to give you a daily gripe, but I also need to tell a story about something that happened with my dogs in the last couple days. And so I will tell you that towards the end of the show. And let me tell you, if you know anything about me and my dogs, you're going to want to hear this whole story. So stick with me. Be back shortly on 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back into the Skraby Show for April 23rd. I almost said 25th. That would be Friday. We're scheduled to have Jose Iglesias on the show on Friday for Friar Friday. Tony flying back from Detroit. Chris is off at a softball game. You're stuck with me, everybody. And I think we did this once or twice last year. But Padres Therapy is something that we did after I think the Rockies series last year, where they got swept by the Rockies at home and everybody was freaking out, which I understood at the time because getting swept by the Rockies at home is not good in any sort of stretch of the imagination. But Padres Therapy, now I've been going to therapy. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I am a recovering alcoholic and I had to deal with a lot of mental health stuff. I had to deal with a lot of depression. I had to deal with a lot of that stuff. And so I went to years and years and years and years of therapy. And I really think that everyone should go to therapy. But one of the early, I guess, homework assignments that I had from my therapist was because I tend to compound criticisms of myself in my head. So it can go from one criticism to the second to the third. By the time I know it, I've criticized myself 15 times. And now I'm feeling terrible about my life. And this is how it used to go. So one of my homework assignments was anytime a negative thought pops into your head, then anytime a negative thought pops into your head, you have to replace it by a positive thought. So this is how Padres Therapy goes. I'm going to put out a negative thought, and I have to replace it with a positive thought. And here's our therapy music. It's very soothing, everybody. It's very soothing. It's actually called, the bed is called aromatherapy. So think about that while you're listening to this music. But it got a good review last time, so I'll do it again. I think it's a little early in the year to be doing Padres Therapy, but I think there are things out there that people need to exercise the demons out. And here's the first one. The rotation has not been as lights out as we thought. Well, Nick Pivetta has been lights out for the Padres. So the negative is the rotation has not been as lights out as we thought. Dylan C struggling certain times. Kyle Hart struggling certain times. Randy Vasquez. Nick Pivetta has been everything opposite of struggle this year outside of one game. So here is what Nick Pivetta has done this year for the Padres in 5 starts. He's 4-1. He has given up 4 earned runs in 5 starts. If you take out the April 5th start against the Cubs when they lost 7-1 on that Saturday, I think. If you take that out, he's only given up 1 earned run all season long. So he's been very, very good. He has 10 strikeouts at least in 1 game. The last 2 games, he's had 6 strikeouts. Well, I just put this together. He threw 91 pitches in the last 2 games he's pitched, which he won. One over the Cubs, one over the Tigers. So Nick Pivetta has been great this year. Like, ultra good. Because, again, if you take out the Chicago Cubs start in Chicago, he's only given up 1 earned run all year. And if you take out that Chicago Cubs start in Chicago, he's only walked 4 batters all year. He's only given up 1 home run. And if you take it out, he's given up no home runs. So there you go. Further, Nick Pivetta, Jesse Agler tweeted this last night. I thought it was awesome. Nick Pivetta finished 7 innings 3 times with Boston last year. He's done so 3 times in 5 starts to begin this season with the Padres. 0 runs allowed in those starts. So that is pretty good pitching right there for Nick Pivetta. And here's a double positive. I actually have one more. The Padres pitching staff has been historic through the first 24 games. Now, I know we played 25 games today, but through 24 games and through last night, Padres, there's been 2 teams in the history of baseball to have 7 shutouts in the first 24 games. One of them, this year's Padres team. The other, the 1992 Braves. So you've heard me say this before, but anytime you are mentioned with only one other team in something in baseball history, you're doing something right. So there's the double positive on the rotation's been shaky. Now, I got a lot of messages in the last couple days about Yuki Matsui. So here's the negative. Lefty Yuki Matsui has been giving up some runs and big hits lately. Home runs today, the other day. But here's the positive thought. Lefty Alec Jacob has not given up those runs and home runs and all of that. Alec Jacob has been really, really good this year. 12 and a third innings. He has, let's see, his strikeout per nine, or what am I looking at here? I'm looking at the wrong site. I'm looking at the wrong analytics on the site. But Alec Jacob this year, 12 and a third innings. He's 1-0. He's had 10 appearances. He struck out 7. And he's faced 52 batters. So I feel pretty good when Alec Jacob is in the game. Now, he had one game where he gave up a home run, but he's been pretty steady. I'm good with Alec Jacob coming into the game. Here's another one. We're doing Padres Therapy, everyone, if you're just tuning in. Positive or negative thought. Xander Bogaerts can't hit the ball out of the infield. And trust me, I hear this a lot. And I also see it, too. But here's the positive thought. Xander Bogaerts has the second most doubles on the team with 8, which I already kind of ruined that earlier. And that's all I really got on Xander Bogaerts right there. I'm going to look into his stats a little bit more. Here's the negative thought. They are 5-8 on the road this season, I believe, after losing today. Here's the positive thought. They are 12-1 at home. They have been incredible at home. So they're coming home to play 5 games, 3 against the Rays, 2 against the Giants, and they're already 12-1 at home. So they can string some wins together here and keep furthering the number, keep trying to stay in front of all the rest of those National League West teams. So they're coming home. That's a good thing. They need to figure out the road a little bit better, gotta say. Final one. Which is kind of funny that I've seen this reaction. Man, this team's lost so many games in a row. No, they haven't, number one. Number two, I have seen someone that said to me, and this was back when they were 2 games ago, but anyway, the team is 17-8. And I've been told that like it's a problem. That's the negative. They're 17-8. They could be 20-5, but they gave those games away. And I'm like, okay, they didn't give any games away. But here's the positive. The team is 17-8. I think that's a really good positive. This is one of the better starts in Padres history. And with the team being 17-8, I feel pretty good right now. I am not panicked at all. I am not feeling like the sky is falling. A couple more performances like today, you might get me a little bit sky is falling. But right now, through 25 games, they have so many games to go. I am not worried about this whole thing. I mean, the bench. Here's another negative. The bench has not really been that great. And I don't really have a positive because, for the most part, Yuli Gurriel, Connor Joe, those guys, they have not been coming through for the Padres. Jose Iglesias has, but we expected that. The bench has not been great this year. They need to figure out a little bit. They need to get something going with the bench. Gavin Sheets, DHing. He's hitting 309 this year. He had a tough game today, 0 for 3 with 2 Ks. But Gavin Sheets, you know what? I'm actually going to get into some of the Gavin Sheets StatCast numbers because I looked those up earlier. And for his 2025 StatCast, so far he's got a pretty good look going on with his different analytic numbers. So why don't we do that? Go to break, come back, talk about Gavin Sheets, also talk about the thing that happened with my dogs. And then at the end, we have a daily gripe that is, I think people are going to be on my side about this. So be back shortly here. This is the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris on The Fan.
Brian Dunseth, ML. final segment of the Skraby Show for tonight. Very sad. The Padres Therapy, I think, rethinking that, I just didn't really have enough to be doomed about. I tried to force some dooming in there to complete the Padres Therapy. And I don't think I had enough to doom about. So I think I'm going to shelve Padres Therapy for a little bit because we need some more doom if we're really going to do Padres Therapy. I'm Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. You can watch on YouTube, The Skraby Show, or you can watch on X at Matt Skraby. I also have some things to correct, which I said that Alec Jacob was a left-handed pitcher. And when I said it, it felt wrong. But Dan on the chat told me he's a right-handed pitcher. So I wanted to correct that. I went with it, felt like it was wrong, but continued to go with it anyway. So Alec Jacob, right-handed pitcher. I am not above admitting when I have said something wrong because it happens somewhat often. Not somewhat often, but sometimes. All right, I'm going to tell you. Oh, the other thing. Here's the other thing I wanted to say. I opened my big mouth a few weeks ago, and I shouldn't have said that Pete Crow Armstrong was a nobody because Wandy Peralta gave up that home run to PCA, as they call him. And I was immediately met with a lot of people telling me I was wrong about how good I thought Pete Crow Armstrong was. And now he definitely has a long season ahead of him, but he's making me look real bad right now. He is making me look really, really bad because today he's 3 for 4. He's got 4 RBIs. He hit a 3-run home run earlier. He's hitting 294 on the season. He's got an 888 OPS. He just stole his 10th base of the year. So I'm glad that the Padres met with the Cubs early on in the year. I would not want to face the Cubs later on in the year. So I'm glad that they're done with that series. But Pete Crow Armstrong is doing some good things. The reason I said he wasn't as good as everybody thought, right? The reason I said we shouldn't make him a superstar is because when Wandy Peralta gave up the home run, everybody was acting like he was Babe Ruth. And maybe he is Babe Ruth because he's playing pretty well right now. And he hit his 5th home run of the year on a really, really, I don't even know how he went down and got that pitch. But Pete Crow Armstrong doing some good stuff. Gonzo says definitely not enough doom for therapy. It wasn't, there's not enough doom yet. They've lost a couple games. They still haven't even lost double-digit games on the year. So maybe I forced that segment, and I'll look back on that, and I'll say it was too early for Padres Therapy. Gavin Sheets, real quick. Gavin Sheets is, when he was signed by the Padres, when he came over to the Padres, we were looking at his numbers, and his numbers were pretty average, less than average. That was with the White Sox. Throughout his time, he hasn't really hit over 300, or hasn't really hit over 300. I don't think he's finished the season over 250 leading into this year. Gavin Sheets was a wild card a little bit. And so far, I think he's paid off. I think that they found someone that they can work with. I have a good feeling about Gavin Sheets when he goes up and when it's his turn to bat. I'm not turning away from Gavin Sheets thinking that Gavin Sheets is going to be an automatic out or anything like that. I'm not willing to say that he is the DH of the future, but I am willing to say that I like Gavin Sheets on this team. And it's kind of funny because would he have even made this team if he didn't hit those home runs 4 days in a row during spring training, which kind of catapulted him to the top of the guys that were trying to make the team? But Gavin Sheets is hitting 309, 851 OPS. And here are some of his StatCast numbers that I think are really, really, really good. When you're looking at the average exit velocity that he has, meaning how fast the ball is coming off of his bat, he has an average exit velocity of 92.9 miles per hour this year. That's 89th percentile in baseball. So he's in the top 15% of baseball with his exit velocity. His hard hit percentage, this is even crazier. His hard hit percentage is 97th percentile. 59.2% of the time he's hitting the ball hard. His launch angle sweet spot percent, which I looked into it, but it was kind of difficult. Just know that this number is very good according to the rest of baseball. He's at the 100th percentile at 57.1. All of his numbers are up from where they have been throughout his career. And he's showing that he has that power. He hit a home run the other day in that huge Tiger or Comerica Park. And if you're looking at like his expected batting average, or his batting average 306, 89th percentile, slugging 483, 73rd percentile. And then there's the XWOBA, but I'm not going to give that to everyone because it would take too long for me to explain it. And then I would probably have to explain it again. But his numbers are really good this year. And Gavin Sheets, I'm hoping he stays there. I'm hoping he can at least, I'm not expecting for him to hit 300 this year, but I am expecting him to perform because he has so far, and Padres really, really need it right now. They can't afford not to have a really good Gavin Sheets. They need a DH that can hit for power. Luis Ariz, he plays first base, I know, but he's not going to hit 30 home runs this year. If Gavin Sheets can hit 15 to 20 home runs, he's already got 3. I know 20 might be a lot, but if he can hit 15 to 20 home runs and hit anywhere between 250 to 275, I'm taking that. I'm taking that on this team. So if you look at go to Baseball Savant, type in Gavin Sheets' name, and then you'll see how much better he's doing this year than he has all over or across the rest of his career. Jack says Dairy Bonds. I got to be honest, I don't know if I can get behind that nickname, but it's not really up to me. It's already being said by everyone. And it's a fun nickname. I'm just not sure I'm going to use it. All right, we've talked Padres. We've talked we've talked about the Padres therapy. We've talked about the injuries. Here we go. Tatis trying to steal third in the first with 2 outs. I got crushed for this on social media. I tweeted out on X, if you are good with the aggressive base running, if you're good with the aggressive base running when it works, then you have to be good with the aggressive base running when it doesn't work, which it didn't work today. Yes, cardinal sin. 3rd out at third base. That is a cardinal sin. And I explained myself earlier. But when you got the best player on the team trying to make something happen in the first inning of the 25th game of the year, I'm fine with Fernando trying this. Did it end up looking like a dumb play? It ended up looking like a dumb play. But if he makes it, we're not talking about this at all. We're not talking about Fernando. What we're talking about is, man, the guts of Fernando Tatis Jr. to steal third with 2 outs in the first inning. That's why he's great. That's what we would be talking about. I do think that people are right when they tell me it's a stupid play, but it's a play that I'm willing to have Fernando try for. Fernando can steal the base. If he thinks he can do it, do it. Go for it. Now, if this becomes a thing, yeah, you can't just keep running into the 3rd out at third base because you're trying to steal third. Can't do that. But this is the first time we've seen it this year. I have a feeling that we're not going to see it for a little bit longer because of the result today of him being caught stealing to end the first inning. But it was early enough in the game that it maybe had an impact. Yes, he's in scoring position when he's on second. If he gets to third, he's still in scoring position. But I don't even know the thought process behind that. I don't know. Maybe there was a hit and run on him. I'm doubting there was. But I'm just going to go and trust Fernando in this scenario. And I know people are going to disagree with me. This is maybe one of those things that I probably should think a little bit more about and not take such a hard stance on this. But it's really, in the scheme of the season, we are not going to be talking about Fernando getting caught stealing in the 25th game of the year against the Tigers. It's just, we're not going to talk about it at the end of the year. Now that I say that, we are probably going to talk about it at the end of the year. Eric says certain players get a longer reign, leash, whatever. Q says 7 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing is a good ratio. Trevor says in Mar's defense, if you don't know who Mar is, that's me when someone took something I said on the show and they credited Mar Skraby. Mar's defense, first inning, Nando has stolen home. He has stolen home. So thank you for those backups. Our resident Dodgers fan, Oscar, is in the chat saying we lost. And that would mean the Dodgers have lost to the Cubs. Cubs are I knew they were going to be good, but are the Cubs a team that could? It's really early, obviously. It's extremely early. But the Cubs have had some pretty good wins this year. And they've put up a lot of runs this year, which doesn't actually bode well for them because they also give up a lot of runs. But if they can score a lot of runs, then they can win most of those games. But yeah, the Cubs have done really well so far to start this year. I'm trying to get to the standings page because it updates. Cubs are going to be 16-10 after they just beat the Dodgers 7-6. Dodgers will fall to 16-9. Shohei Ohtani, you want to talk about someone in a slump? Shohei Ohtani is in a slump because he is now down to hitting 261. He went 1 for 5 today. And he has in the last 7 games, he's hit 200 with an OPS of 673, struck out 9 times, and he's only had 6 hits in 30 at-bats, which would give you the 200 average. Shohei Ohtani struggling a little bit to start the year for Shohei standards. Maybe he's tired because he has a new kid at home. He did go on paternity leave over the weekend. So there you go. All right. I think I'm all Padre'd out for the last 2 minutes of the show. But I have to tell you about this story with my dogs because I keep everyone up to date on what's going on with my life and my dogs and how they're handling or how I'm handling them. So in the backyard, there's a hill that goes all the way up, and then there's another house on top of the hill that looks down into the backyard, but there's like trees and stuff, so you can't really see. But the hill is big enough where I can't see Lucky when he goes up to the top of the hill. I know he's there, but because I see this little tail poking out through the leaves and stuff, but I can't necessarily see him. So when I first got Lucky, he used to go up to the top of the hill and he used to bark at the people that were in the house. And so obviously can't be having that because that's annoying for the people at the top. And so I put up this fence about 7-8 feet away from the back fence so that Lucky couldn't get to that back fence. And what happened over time, because for a while there, I was hearing no barking. There was nothing wrong. Lucky wasn't, up on the hill for hours at a time like he used to be, bugging people and digging and all that stuff. So I thought, hey, I fixed it. I put the fence in. It was a pain in the butt to put this fence across this hill, but I did it. And I went on my merry way. This was about 8-9 months ago. Well, I was checking my Instagram the other day, and I had a message from someone I've never talked to before. And it said, hey, Matt, we don't know each other, but, and I was like, where's this going? So I click on it. It said, we don't know each other, but I am the neighbor that lives up the hill from where you live. And this person told me that Lucky and the other dog are barking and being really annoying because they're able to get to the fence. And so whenever they go out in their backyard and the dogs are up there, they just bark all the time and they can't enjoy their backyard. And their 5-year-old son is also kind of afraid of the dogs because they're barking, which I totally understand. Totally 100% understand. And so they actually ended up sending me a video of what it looked like from their point of view to see what Lucky was all about when he was being annoying to them. So she sends me this video. I click on it. I'm not going to share the video because it's her video. But Lucky was being a bad dog. I had never seen this side of my boy. So you know what I did on Monday? After we got off work, went home, looked. They had dug under the fence. So I had to fix the fence again. I'm hoping that the fence is now fixed. But you know what I should do? I'm just going to make this my daily gripe.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
My daily gripe is that every time I build something to keep Lucky contained, he figures out how to dig under it or jump over it. So containing my dog is the daily gripe. And I have to say, this person that messaged me, I will say they were very, very cool in the message. They were not accusatory. They were not angry. They were not calling me names, calling my dog names, anything like that. They were very, very, it was handled very well. And so the reason that I turned around and just was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to come home from work today. I'm going to fix this is because that person was so nice. So I don't even know if they're listeners or not, but if you're listening and you know what I'm talking about, thank you for being nice. Thank you for handling it in a way that didn't end up becoming this huge thing. And now I'm angry at everybody. They handled it very well. I think the fence is fixed, but my boy was not good. And I saw that other side of him, and I've never seen that other side of him. So we've had a couple talks in the last couple days. Didn't care what I had to say, but I still talked to him. All right, that's it for the Skraby Show. Back tomorrow. Bennewood, 6 a.m. Roundtable, 10 a.m. 97.3 The Fan.
Baseball.